Hey, so this is group 4. This is our outcome measures presentation, and we had the fear avoidance belief questionnaire and the multi-directional reach test. So this is just an example of the fear avoidance belief questionnaire. It shows you how it's scored from 0 to 6 and the questions that are asked for each one. It's broken up. The first part is about physical activity, 1 through 5, and then the last part is about work. So the purpose of this questionnaire is to quantify the impact of an individual's fear avoidance beliefs about work and physical activity on his or her low back pain, and it can be used to identify individuals that would potentially benefit from psychosocial interventions. So the description of this questionnaire, it is a 16-question questionnaire, and it is self-reported, meaning the patient fills it out on their own. It's scored on a scale of 0 to 6. All you need for it is the FABQ form, the piece of paper, and then a pencil for them to fill it out with. As I mentioned earlier, the first 5 questions are asking about physical activity, and then the last 11 are asking about work. So the target population for this test, it's really a non-specific patient population. It includes individuals with spinal injuries, musculoskeletal conditions, chronic pain, or back pain. So the areas of assessment that this covers are activities of daily living, behavior, functional mobility, general health, life participation, mental health, motivation, occupational performance, pain, personality, quality of life, self-efficacy, and stress and coping. So the ICF domains that this fear avoidance belief questionnaire covers are activity and participation. So to administer this test, it really requires minimal effort from both the patient and the administrator. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete. It's free, and also, as I said earlier, the equipment you need are only just a pencil and then the printed fear avoidance belief questionnaire form. So this test is scored on a scale of 0 to 6. 0 means they completely disagree, 3 means they're unsure, and 6 means they completely agree. And then the scores are added together based on fear avoidance beliefs about work and fear avoidance beliefs about physical activity. So how the test is interpreted based off scoring. Basically, a higher score is interpreted as a greater fear avoidance belief, and a lower score is interpreted as a lower fear avoidance belief. The minimal scale score that they can get is 0, and then the maximum scale of one score they can get is 42, and then the maximum scale on the second score that they can get is 24. So this test, the physical activity section and the work section were compared to the Tampa scale for kinesiophobia, pain catastrophizing scale, numeric pain rating scale, and the Oswestry low back disability questionnaire in regards to construct validity. So adequate correlations were found between these outcome measures in all areas except for one. There was a poor correlation between the work section and the Tampa scale for kinesiophobia. The physical activity section has a sensitivity of 0.60 to 0.70 and a specificity of 0.33 to 0.48. The work section has a sensitivity of 0.07 to 0.75 and a specificity of 0.92 to 0.83. The physical activity section has a positive likelihood ratio of 0.89 and 1.46 and a negative likelihood ratio of 1.23 to 0.58. The work section has a positive likelihood ratio of 0.86 to 4.33 and a negative likelihood ratio of 1.01 to 0.30. So the ranges between sensitivity, specificity, positive likelihood ratio, and negative likelihood ratios are due to the difference in private insurance or workers' compensation being involved. So when we were researching this, one author stated that both the work section and the physical activity section have excellent test-retest reliability. The work section had a Pearson correlation of 0.64. The physical activity section had a Pearson correlation of 0.80. And then one author states that internal consistency for the work section is excellent due to the alpha of 0.84 to 0.92. And then the same author stated that the internal consistency for the physical activity section is poor due to that alpha of 0.52 to 0.57. So in regards of responsiveness, both the work section and the physical activity section showed moderate changes of responsiveness. The work section had a moderate change and an effect size of 0.33, and the physical activity section also had a moderate change with an effect size of 0.41.
Hello, this is Kendrick Morgan of Group 4 to explain a multidirectional reach test. The picture you see to your right of your screen is the patient in the starting position, and then they move forward to perform the multi-reach test, and they also move backward in the last picture to perform the multi-reach test. One important thing to always remember is to stabilize your patient and to spot them so that they don't lean forward and fall or backwards and fall. The purpose of the multidirectional reach test is to measure how an individual can reach in four directions and determine their stability limits when shifting their center of gravity away from their base of support. This test can be used to find fall risk individuals and help predict future falls in patients. The description of this test is a performance-based outcome measure that determines the stability limits of an individual in four directions, being front, back, left, and to the right. A yardstick is fixated parallel to the ground and at the same level as the participant's acromion process. Then the individual raises his or her arm straight with their palm facing medially and then reaches as far as they can in the respective direction without moving their feet or lifting their heels off of the ground. If they do move their feet or lift their heels off the ground, you must reposition and start over. The end position is then subtracted from the initial position, and the body mechanical strategy in which the patient utilizes is then recorded. Repeat this 3 times to help with validity and take the mean of all the trials. The population for the multidirectional reach test are older adults, patients with a history of falls, and patients with the fear of falling, and especially those adults that are over the age of 65. The area of assessment of the multidirectional reach test is balance, not vestibular based, which this means that the test is not being used to determine if something is wrong with the vestibular portion of the inner ear, which is causing balance impairments. The International Classification of Function domains of the multidirectional reach test is body function. This instrument can be effectively used with patients that have multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, just to name a few. The administrative methods of the multidirectional reach test. This test does not take any additional training to administer. The test takes 5 minutes to complete, which is a short period of time, and the only equipment needed is a yardstick, a level, a tripod, or a wall with a tape to hold the yardstick in place. Also, additionally, the test is free to administer. There may be variations regarding mounting of the yardstick, and if not, there were practical trials performed or not. You would like to use the same approach each time to ensure consistency when administering the test to ensure that your results and your measurements are valid. Scoring of the multidirectional reach test. Initial and end positions of the outstretched hand is measured in inches, using the middle finger as the reference point. The difference between the end and starting position is then recorded for each direction, forward, backward, and then both left lateral and right lateral directions. This is done 3 times in each direction, and the average is taken and recorded. This uses the mean value of the measurements collected from each direction to accurately score the outcome measure. The interpretation of scoring. There are different normative mean values for different older adult populations. For community dwelling elderly, normative mean values included the following: forward reach at 8.89 inches with a positive negative deviation of 3.40 inches. Backward reach at 4.64 inches with the positive and negative deviation of 3.10 inches. Right lateral reach at 6.86 inches with the positive negative deviation of 3 inches. Left lateral reach at 6.61 inches with a positive negative deviation of 2.90 inches. Mean value is higher than the normative average, which equals lower risk of falling. The mean value lower than the normative average equals a higher risk of falling. This test has adequate correlations in all directions compared to the Berg balance test. This test has excellent construct validity compared to Berg's balance test. So overall, if the mean value is higher than the normative average, it can be interpreted as having a lower risk of falling. But if the mean value is lower than the normative average, it can significantly increase or show that you have a higher risk of falling. Psychometric properties, testing the validity of the multidirectional reach test. This test was compared to the Berg's balance test and the timed up and go in regards to construct validity. Adequate correlations were found between the Berg's balance test in all directions. Adequate correlation were found between the time up and go in all directions, except the right reach, which had a poor correlation. This shows that overall, this test adequately measures the target concept of balance compared to the more validated balance outcome measure tests. Psychometric properties, test reliability, internal consistency, considered excellent due to the alpha score of 0.842. However, intra-rater reliability showed poor values in all directions except forward reach, which was considered excellent. Forward reach with an alpha score of 0.942, backward reach with an alpha score of 0.0926. Right reach with an alpha score of 0.0926, and left reach with an alpha score of 0.0947. In conclusion, this test has valuable clinical relevance, but it should not be used alone to address fall risk. It should be accompanied with another test to fully get a score of stability limitations and balance deficits. One author states the internal consistency for the test with the community dwelling elderly is considered excellent due to alpha. However, the inter-rater reliability showed poor values in all directions except for the forward reach. The psychometric properties responsiveness. All directions of this test showed minimum values of responsiveness, but because of the effect size were considered significant. Forward reach had a small change in effect size of 0.09. Backward reach had a small change in effect size equal to 0.14. Right reach had a small change in effect size equal to 0.18. Left reach had a small change in effect size equal to 0.21. All of these effect sizes were small but positive and showed a significance in the outcome.